Hello traders, welcome to today's video. Bitcoin continuing its small correction after reaching $100,000 last week, which is what we had anticipated, of course. And then we are seeing the correction, which we have also anticipated and profited from relatively well. So, of course, last weekend I did go short on Bitcoin. My reason for that was the point of control moved up to these highs at 98,500, and we were looking for those targets of 94,800 and 91,200. 91,200 has today been hit. That is my second take profit level. I now hold a small amount of my short position just in case of any further downside, but I quite like where this is at right now, and realistically I don't want to see too much lower. Otherwise, it does start to change my higher time frame idea. So the dip we've had so far is really quite decent. Of course, we were anticipating this drop regardless of that. It was either we were going to get it through 100K to get the opportunity for around about like a 12 to 15% correction, or we were going to get it before that move to 100K, giving us that like 6 to 8 to 10% correction, which is roughly where we are now. I think we're down about 8.5% from those highs, which is actually, I would say, a little bit more bullish. If we have this correction now, then a break of 100K when it does eventually happen, if it does eventually happen, I do think it will, should be a cleaner break, and we don't necessarily have to be looking for significantly lower, although I am still aware of that scenario. Now, other confluence we had there, of course, was basically the measured move of our previous range. So if you go from high to low, this is exactly the same amount of move up that we had that the previous range we were in was. So it came up into that 2 fib expansion. We also, from the lows that we created a year ago to our high, back down to those correction lows, this was the 1-to-1, and then we are approaching that macro 1.618, which was the from the high to low of the entire bear market, which was there at 101,970, 102K. So we were looking at this zone basically as potentially providing some resistance. The other thing that we had there was, of course, we did create this daily OB at the top. We came back in and tested it, and now we are seeing this corrective move down. So if we go down onto the lower time frames, I am looking at this as basically being really quite nice support right now. So we have confluence amongst all exchanges. So monthly points of control. You know, on spot that is higher, okay? We did shift that monthly point of control higher. We came in to back test it and we did drop. So locally, we are around our previous range. So if we look at this previous range that we were in, okay, this POC, I took it from the low because we're going from low to high. The previous range that we were in before we got this bigger breakout was down here at 91.2, and we also came into that 0.618 from our recent lows to our local highs here. We also have the confluence on the other exchanges where we have our 104-hour EMA, and we have our monthly point of control. So this is consistent across every perps exchange, every single one of them. So you've got Blofin here, monthly POC at 90,769. If you go on to Woo, 90,794. If you go to Bybit, 90,811. If you go to Bybit Inverse, 90,866, and if you go to Binance, then of course it is at 90,744, and this also being the POC of the range that we've been putting in as well. So very consistent. I do like where this has bottomed. I do not want to see any acceptance below this zone at this stage. So any acceptance below 91K was for me invalidation on basically this turning from what is currently just a correction to something that could get a bit of a deeper pullback on the charts. So for now, just a corrective move. I am still anticipating that this goes higher. However, if we do get acceptance below 91K, what we don't want to see is price dropping back down here, closing those high time frame candles, those 4 hours daily candles down here, and then getting that aggression lower, which I do think could send us down towards those low 80Ks. I think that's a little bit less likely at this stage, but we do have to be aware that that is a possibility. The other thing that we have been doing here is we are seeing our first backtest of our previous all-time high when you look at total market cap. So we have been here before. We broke total market cap in December of 2020. In the previous bull run, we had a few weeks of consolidation at that zone, with price going up to 1.15 trillion before correcting back down to around about 800 billion. And on this occasion, we are seeing this move that went up to about 3.4 trillion, correcting down to 3 trillion, a nice even. And also from total market cap, this 3 trillion number is our monthly point of control also. So we have good confluence here. We have been here before, and this is why I do think correction, more likely than a deep pullback here. We don't really want to see price getting caught beneath those all-time highs, because when that does happen, it doesn't tend to end particularly well. But yeah, correction here, consolidate for a while, and then higher prices that I do believe could send the total market cap up to like at least 5 trillion and above over the course of the next like year or so. So everything looking good. When we look at the Bitcoin dominance as well, we are seeing that continued pullback here from Bitcoin dominance. We hit that 61.8. Of course, on the 4 hour, that's what it was. We hit the 618 from our highs to lows and 61.8%. And we are seeing Bitcoin dominance like not really getting a major bounce yet. So altcoins have been fairly resilient throughout this whole move. The long positions that I'm in have been unaffected. I have not really lost any unrealized P&L. Any positions that I have taken over the last few days, even with Bitcoin pulling back by that 8-9%, whatever it is, altcoins are still doing really, really quite well here. So if you look at the likes of TIA, which despite the correction made a new high, if you look at the likes of ENS, which again today has made another new high. If you look at these altcoins, some of these other trades that I have taken, everything looking good. And even the ones that I took yesterday, before we had this other drop overnight here, is profitable. So every altcoin that I'm in, every alt long that I'm in is profitable. So yeah, looking really good here. Now, what we want to see from BTC in order to become a little bit more bullish again is kind of similar to yesterday, right? We did have this situation yesterday where we, of course, opened outside of our Monday value area. We tried to get back inside a couple of times. We had this one move up, two moves up, and then even after that subsequent drop into that the VWAP, then we did have another attempt higher at it. Now, for me, if you want to just be if you're still unsure, and I think the market is still unsure, then realistically you've just got to flip this zone here. So if price can get back above here, all right, if price can just get back above, hold above 95k, then I think there's a very, very high probability we see a move back towards 100k again. And yeah, that would just be the easy way to take it. Now, that wouldn't be the easiest trade to take, because of course your invalidation is down here and you're essentially just getting a one-to-one from that, but the probabilities would remain pretty high. If the price does come up here, then I do think continuation higher looks very, very likely. That would also signal a change, of course, in the local market structure, the local downtrend that we have, because of course what we have seen is a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, so far a lower high. And even with this move that we're seeing so far today, if we just take this rectangle, we delete it, and then we look at where our gap is on the 30-minute, which was consistently the areas in which we were holding during the uptrend, then of course this zone is now potentially acting as resistance. So yeah, we want to see a push higher. We want to see a relatively swift recovery from this. I don't know if it's going to happen today. We could still come and test these lows. We do have to be aware that the trend locally is still down, and you can't really be looking for longs on Bitcoin until that changes. Now, if we do go lower, I do see a situation where we get a flush across the board, because this for me is major support. Also, if you look at the order book, 90k has a ton of passive bids down there, limit orders down there. And that is, you don't really want to see that traded through in the same way as 100K. If you were looking for shorts, you didn't want to see that broken, because 90K, strong bid, lots of orders in the books here, lots of buys there. 100K, there were lots of sells there. We weren't able to break through the sell wall in order to go higher. And as long as we're unable to break through the buy wall to go lower, then everything looks okay. And I do think that the eventual resolution will be up from this. Now, if it does break down, this is what I mean, acceptance below that 91, acceptance below that 90K, if we do start to break that, I think it would be a very quick move down. And I think that that move down would come on increased Bitcoin dominance here, where if we do break 90 and we do drop, and we start trading around here, I think boom, liquidation, cascade, all of that kind of things, as longs really do start to get trapped there. And at the same time, I would expect the Bitcoin dominance to spike back up to around about that 60%, 60.5%, which would probably lead to 20 to 30% corrections on altcoins. So be aware of it. Make sure you have been taking profits, because as I've just shown you, lots of things making new highs again today. Everything's looking good. If you're in altcoins, they look great right now. But if Bitcoin cannot hold support, they will very quickly look not so great. And you need to be making sure you're taking profits. It's fine to lose a bit of unrealized P&L if we do get a spike like this, because realistically in a bull market, you want to keep those positions open, but you do want to make sure that you're paying yourself from those positions as they are going up. If things have hit target, like for example, ENS has, pay yourself, okay, get that stop to break even, crank that leverage up so you can use that margin on another trade. And then you don't even really need the stop. You just hit an isolated liquidation, which actually doesn't really lose you anything once you crank the leverage. But anyway, then yeah, just make sure you are protected, limit your downside risk, and yeah, get those stops in place and everything if there is to be a flush. If there is to be a flush, then it's going to provide really good opportunities, because of course it will bounce back pretty quickly, I would expect. But yeah, something to be aware of. There's not really anything else I have to say. We'll see how today goes. It is a fairly busy news day, of course, because tomorrow is bank holiday in the US. They're pushing all of the news that would often happen on a Thursday to today. So we've got unemployment claims, there's some other data coming out, that kind of thing. As I mentioned before, in this phase of the market, the data doesn't have too much of an effect over crypto anymore. But if there is to be a drop from the legacy markets, and it does look like that could be the case, if I just go and look at the NASDAQ here, then we have, of course, we did have that drop a couple of weeks ago, and we've come all the way back up to these highs, but approaching resistance. There could be another thing whereby we look for another move down here, where the NQ and the ES, for example, does get that more corrective move before, like I say, eventual resolution higher, and we have this bigger correction here. So something to be aware of. If that is to happen, it would be difficult for Bitcoin to hold up against a massive drop of this kind. It did it in the past, but of course that was when we were just full on bull mode, and Bitcoin was holding really well here. If it happens now when there's a little bit of uncertainty, then it's going to cause a big drop. So things to be aware of, food for thought as we go into, of course, Thanksgiving and the Black Friday sales everywhere. So Bitcoin could give us a Black Friday sale, altcoins could give us a Black Friday sale if we do see that acceptance below $90,000. And talking of Black Friday sales, if you have not yet joined the crew on our Black Friday sale, then make sure you do that now. Okay, you get 1 year of membership for just $99. Go to tauruscrypto.com, sign up for the crew, and when you go to checkout on WOP, or you click on the link in the description below that takes you straight to the WOP checkout, so that's easy. Just put in the code Black Friday on the 1 year membership, and you'll get that $700 discount for the year. So $99 for the entire year. The entire bull market, what we hope will last for the majority of the next year. On that note, I am going to wrap it up. I don't know why I'm looking at the NASDAQ chart. Let's look at the Bitcoin chart as we wrap it up. We are seeing a little bit of a move up this morning. But yeah, be aware of more downside. It's a nice low to put in, but we're not out of the woods yet. So cautious optimism of higher prices until we have confirmation that we are going lower or confirmation that we will be going higher, which we're not at yet. So thank you. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.